IBC 2014. This is where we are these days. This is our last 20 years of sales, and we're now showing where we stand. We're 2 months away from the close of our year, and we're almost bang on what we budgeted to do this year. And it's about a 20% growth year over year. So if we've had some fantastic years and some fantastic growth, it hasn't stopped. And in fact, it almost looks like it's accelerating, which I'm quite happy about. We're now closing in on almost 600 employees, and we've done 85 hires in the last 12 months. So there's a lot of new faces at Ross Video, and some very, very cool new people that we've added on. So pleased about that. Our growth, because this is IBC, we want to really talk about what's going on in EMEA. I remember when we only had 2 or 3 people on that slide, so it's been growing quite dramatically. And the EMEA team has been able to do 40% growth year over year. So if people think of us as maybe a North American company, a big chunk of where our growth is coming from is right here in EMEA. So I'm excited about that as well. And to support that, we've been adding sales, support, training, marketing, and more. As well, this is pretty exciting. We're opening our new office later this year in Pinewood Studios, which is famous for its James Bond movies. And it's kind of fun actually, because we're inside the gates, of course. And when I was scouting out the location with our staff, there was actually Jedi Knights and stormtroopers walking around, and they weren't just they were like in the movie. It was really quite cool. So it's I think a sort of place that's going to be a lot of fun to take our customers, and I think our employees are going to enjoy our new location and headquarters, you could say, in EMEA right there. That's in addition, of course, to our locations in Hilversum and our manufacturing facility in Belgium, machining robots out of solid blocks of aluminum. The big news, of course, when we launched it at NAB was our new flagship switcher, Acuity. And since then, we've been working quite quickly, and we shipped on schedule, and it's now, the factory's grinding out Acuities as fast as they can, and there's count 5 models of Acuity as well. So even at the high end, that's a lot more models of modular control panels than I think almost anybody else in the world working at that level. So this really raises the bar for where Ross Video, I think, is and is perceived to be in the high-end side of the production switcher market. And the rack frames are by far the most powerful engines we've ever made, and they come in, obviously, in 2 sizes. Almost everything about Acuity, which is our top-end production switcher, is double from what we did in Vision. So it may look similar in some ways, but the video switching and the processing capabilities and the keying capabilities and so on throughout the engine is up by a factor of 2. So that's pretty cool. Of course, we launched it as 3G, 1080p, that's standard, no extra charge. And the other thing is 4K, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's a quad link 4K capability, and we're showing that on our booth. We'll talk about that a bit more in a second too. I want to highlight the small switcher frame. This is unbelievable. This is a 4RU box with 60 inputs, 40 outputs, all 3G, 6 MEs. Usually, people talk about 4 ME switchers and they're quite large units. This is a 6 ME switcher in 4RU with 60 channels of DVE, 24 channels of 3D DV. There's no extra box. If you're used to seeing a lot of other manufacturers, you see extra boxes for DVEs and stuff like that. It's all built in. And the other thing, on top of the media stores and so on, highlight the multi-viewers in this thing. And I'll talk about that as well. But the multi-viewers, most of the other large production switchers don't even have multi-viewers built into them. And in this incredibly compact box, we're putting in multi-viewers as well, which allows you to do, because it's so integrated, sort of bring the control of the multi-viewer into the production that you're doing, being able to set it up on the fly through the switcher, and as well make the cost and the integration very, very cost effective. Really wanted to highlight the multi-viewers, like I said, because the MEs on the production switcher are software switchable. This is something that's unique to Ross. So you can have a 6 ME switcher Or you could have, say, a 5 ME switcher with 2 dual head 10 box multi-viewers. So 1 ME turns into 20 boxes worth of dual head multi-viewer. That's incredible. If you have a 4 ME switcher, you can have 4 multi-viewers. If you have a 3.5 ME switcher, you can actually have what you see there, 6 multi-viewer outputs. That's coming out of that same 4RU frame, and that's one of the things that's getting a lot of people very excited about how powerful that particular box is. And if you're in an OB van, for example, and space and weight is a factor, you're saving half a rack. So this is significant. I want to point that out. The other thing we're doing is double 4K on the Ross stand. This is a picture that was taken this morning just before the show opened. And we're using, you sort of see the Canadian picture of me and my dad, actually. That's at the close of the show, actually, at NAB. It's a freeze frame that somebody liked so much that they were actually shipping with every single Acuity and carbonate sold. But anyway, it's a standard still now in the background. Maybe I'll end up on TV someplace, not know it. But that is a Christie Microtile sort of stadium screen sort of simulation, you can say. And the screen is almost double 4K in resolution on our booth right now. This is a monster screen, and we're driving it from Acuity. In fact, we're driving it from the small frame Acuity, being able to do the 4K, and then we're doing some 1080p side panels as well on that, and driving the ribbon board along the top, which is a separate display as well. And on top of that, as you can see, we're driving 4 multi-viewer channels above the user interface, all out of that one 4RU frame. So for production switchers, we're pretty excited about what that's doing in Acuity. Thank you for your applause. Please hold. Okay. The other thing is Carbonite. Carbonite's our mid-range production switcher. It's sold several thousand units at this point, so it's interesting to see how in the 3 years since we launched Carbonite that we're starting to hear a lot of people saying, I'm looking for a mid-size Carbonite switcher size. You know, we're becoming Kleenex. It's becoming sort of the term for this class of production switcher. So it shows just how successful that has become. And we're still adding more things to it as well. It's amazing how flexible and programmable that system has been. We added some high-end switcher features like being able to fly linear keys, being able to fly chroma keys, and now even be able to do something like this, which is a 2-box effect in the mini-MEs. So it's a 2.5 ME switcher that has 4 mini MEs in it as well that you can put 2 boxes up. So you can do interviews on 4 simultaneous outputs without even using any of the resources of the core production switcher, 2.5 MEs. Maybe that's why people like Carbonite. It's really, really powerful, and it just keeps getting better. Of course, at NAB as well, and this is new for IBC, we launched that we gave a software upgrade to 3G processing capability. It started out as a 1080i box for its first 2 years, and then we upgraded as well, which gives you 4K capability because we can combine those 4 mini-MEs into a monster 4K mini-ME. And so that worked out extremely well and is now shipping. Now that 4K mini-Me was used at the World Cup, for example. We partnered with Globosat, as you can sort of see. That's actually when it was being used, and we worked with them doing a 4K production using a Carbonite right out of the mini-MEs. Other things we did is we're doing more 4K with at IBC with Layered, and they're a Chinese high-density pixel board manufacturer. And they're using us on the show floor to do that as well. We've got Carbonite switchers, I think, scattered across the show floor. We were nice. We didn't rent any of them out. We probably should have. Okay, talking a little bit more about Ross Mobile Productions. So, when we bought the company just about a year ago today, in fact, at IBC last year, there's a couple of customers and dealers that we whispered to that were about to buy this production company. And they were like, "Why would you do that? I don't understand." And we were working through it at the time. They didn't quite understand the whole plan. Since then, we've gone from we actually had 1 truck and 1 that was partially assembled to 4 trucks today, and we're literally building the 5th truck. So we haven't even hit. This is our first IBC, and Ross Mobile Productions now has 5 vehicles doing productions all down the east coast of the USA now. We actually have a location where we base them in Miami, near Miami in Florida, and we also have another location in New York City now. Now this isn't great for IBC, but it is still very relevant Ross news to understand the significance of the fact that Ross Video doesn't just make production equipment, we now make TV programs. Just understanding the significance. That's something that really not everybody understands, the level of what Ross is capable of doing now. And some of our client lists include, you might recognize one or two of those guys, ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, the America East Conference is, we're doing all of their production for that. And we did pretty much the first 2 weeks of programming for the SEC network in the Bahamas, was Ross as well. Although we call that ESPN because we were working for them, so officially we were ESPN when we did it, but it was the Ross crew. So it was not a bad client list for the very first year of Ross programming. So we now do television from the line of code, the transistor, and machining the robots ourselves all the way up to completed television programs. I don't think there's too many other manufacturers that do that. Now, that technology that's in our trucks, we've now, of course, branded as OpenTruck. So OpenTruck is really our secret sauce. This is something that is a special design that we actually worked through with the ESPN Advanced Technology Labs. We worked for it for about 2 years, coming up with a whole bunch of different ideas on how to do it. And when that worked, that's what went into the Ross Mobile production workflow. And we make that technology and the designs available to our customers worldwide to do exactly the same thing. Because I have to say, one of the reasons why we're doing Ross Mobile Productions is to prove that Ross is great in trucks, we can make money, we can do great high-end television programs, and you can too. And so to make that happen, of course, this is kind of what it looks like. It's a standardized path to cost-effective remote production. So one of the things here is a lot of the small OB vans are all over the place. You might see a Sony switcher, a Panasonic, you might see a Ross, the CG could be a Viz, it could be Cryon, it could be Ross Expression, and so on. And so it's almost like a Franken-truck. You never know what's going to be in a small OB van anywhere you go in the world. The big trucks, there's a bit more standardization in what the equipment is. It's the small mid-size ones where it's total confusion. So being able to come out and say, there is a workflow that we're working on using our dashboard control system and everything else, gives us the ability and our customers the ability to know what's in a truck and know what the quality level is going to be. This has really taken off. The other thing we've been able to do, this is an example of an open truck. That is an OB van with 10 positions in it. I'm used to seeing OB vans with 3, 4, 5, particularly in Europe. This is nearing the production power of a 40-foot truck, okay, or even a 53-foot Expando in some cases for what you're capable of doing. You can put at least 8 cameras into this, and you've got a lot of different positions to do some very, very sophisticated programming. So this is part of the designs that we're now making available to the world. And not just to the world, also to our integration partners. So what we've been doing is been signing up partners. So we've got broadcast networks, we've got Gearhouse Broadcast, Danmon Group, and Diversified Systems in the United States. So this is really, in a way, heavily European-based actually, but really a global solution because a lot of these guys do a lot of work around the world, particularly Gearhouse Broadcast. And so they have signed on written contracts with Ross to make sure they preserve the integrity of the design of what an open truck really is at the soul, so that when people buy an open truck, they actually do know what they're getting. Now, Ross can't make everything in a truck. We need instant replay, so we've signed up as partners Advocates and EBS. We need intercom systems, so we've signed up Clearcom and Riedel. And we also need audio mixing, so we've signed up Digico and Studer, and there's many more in discussions. Why did we have to sign up? Nobody has to sign up for anything to make a truck. They just make trucks. Why is that important? Well, we want to make sure that whatever is in an open truck has a certain level of quality, a certain level of service that happens, as well as a certain level of integration with our dashboard control system. That's something we're working on with them as partners as well. So they've signed on to do that as well, to create a heavily integrated truck, not just a bunch of kit that's been thrown together. So it's kind of exciting. So exciting that one of our partners, Broadcast Networks, built a truck for us at their cost, which is really cool. and it's on our booth at IBC. So that's an example of the first European Sprinter as well, and that's in addition to the first 5 that Ross made in the United States, and we have quite a few customers in the United States that have built the equivalent of open trucks as well, and we're seeing it now roll it around the world. Now, a Sprinter isn't for everyone. Fortunately, an open truck doesn't mean it has to be in a Mercedes Sprinter van. So what Gearhouse has done, with our permission as well, is they've created, in our partnership, they've created a different version of open truck, which is a trailer. So if you want to be able to separate the engine from the trailer for various reasons, if you want to be able to have a bit more space in a different organization, this is an open truck as well. It's the same sorts of equipment in the same sort of organization, just remodeled. It's kind of cool, right? But they still, when you go in, you have a pretty good idea of what's going to be in that truck. We also have a number of other open truck. We have another open truck on the booth as well. That's very. I don't think we put it up there, but there's more out there. So you get the feeling that there's some momentum going in this new mid-sized truck market. This is making a very big impact, and we're doing with Ross in production, with our customers who are building these trucks for production, with the systems integrators that are building the trucks to the spec, and we have partnerships across the industry to build this truck as well. This is not just a Ross thing, but it is most definitely Ross-led. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, but we don't just make trucks and stuff, we make robotics. So here's our product line, of course. It's, at the high end, it's pretty cool to be able to have both the pedestal-based systems and the rail-based systems. And in that combination, there's no doubt that we're the leader in the world. And just giving an idea of the level of interest that's going on with what we're doing at Furio. This is an example of a seminar in Taipei where people are learning about our products. Of course, you don't have to go to Taipei to learn what a Furio can do. You can just turn on the TV and, of course, watch BBC Broadcasting House's international feed, who has more than a dozen Furios, and you can see that on air every single day. So, robots, you notice that Ross isn't just switchers, right? Another thing that we've done here is we've created the Furio Ped. This is a sort of a hybrid version where if you don't want it to be on a track, on the rail-based system, but you still need to be able to move it around, but you want the features of the Furio and the precise tracking of the Furio and the control system and the integration with Ross products. This is a great solution that we've just worked through, and we did it, we built the first 5 units and delivered them to RTS in Switzerland. So yet more installations here in Europe. Cool little thing. It's designed to have a really broad, non-tippy sort of situation where the wheels are quite far apart, and then it collapses inwards to fit through a door. It's a very elegant design. So that's new for IBC. Other things that are let's see. Did I miss something? I don't think I missed something. All right. Let's talk about another thing. Very excited about Deutsche Welle. Thank you. In Germany, we just signed a multi-year, multi-million-dollar robotics contract. So this is the sort of thing that a company would normally scream to the rafters about. So I'm trying to do that right now, and it certainly shows the confidence that we're seeing in Europe for the entire robotic solution from Ross. And they bought into, interestingly, both the pedestal system and the Furio system combined. So they're taking the best of both, putting them together from Ross and improving their productions. Cool, huh? I love multi-million-dollar deals. Other things as well. At NAB, we announced that we bought a company known as Unreal. Unreal is a pretty cool company in that they really do virtual and augmented reality solutions, and they help people put everything together, whether it's a virtual sets, whether it, or more, and even third-party equipment. So now that they're part of Unreal, what are we going to call them? Well, why not Ross Virtual Solutions? So it's another sort of term that you're going to start hearing from Ross and the team that's doing that. So when you buy this equipment from Ross, and you want to do a virtual newsroom, you want to do anything on the virtual side of things, we have a team of people that can help make that happen. We don't just drop off some boxes. So I think my next thing is a video. So I'm going to pause for a second you get to watch a film. And when you're in school and stuff like that, the film was always the best part, right? So, when the teacher stopped talking. So let's try that now. It's about Ross Virtual. So virtual sets, this is what Ross Virtual Solutions can do.
We're investing more in augmented reality and virtual sets technology and design than any other company in the industry today. Our virtual sets come in all shapes, sizes, and designs. There's no hard set background, just green screen, which means your design options are limitless. You can use a green screen to add a virtual set onto a hard set, and hide lights and other fixtures with a virtual ceiling. With Virtual Social, you can easily include tweets, Instagram messages and photos, as well as Facebook posts into your show. Brand your floor with virtual gobos. Use virtual windows to play live video and video clips. Virtual windows can be used within real or virtual sets. These feeds can easily be changed to reflect the time of day, the weather, or something else. Incorporate branding, your own and your customers, with virtual logos. Virtual displays like these let you include virtual monitors and kiosks in your set. With a virtual set, you can put your virtual weather in the background or the foreground. Create virtual walls and extend your set. Virtual advertising and virtual sponsorship are huge revenue opportunities. Virtual sports branding like this lets you place virtual logos and other elements right in the game. You can even introduce a virtual guest. Project real-time data in a way that's easy to understand, and have fun with 3D virtual animations. Ross Video's UX design team has been blurring the line between what's real and what's not for the past 2 decades. Reality never looked this good.
Cool, huh? So does it give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish with formerly known as Unreal and now Ross Virtual Solutions, and being able to work with our customers to create solutions like that? Moving on. So Overdrive. So what's going on in Overdrive? Well, we now have something called Overdrive Caprica. So if you're not familiar with Overdrive to begin with, that's basically being able to do the news with as few as one person in the gallery controlling the situation, controlling the show. What Caprica does is allows us to control more than just a Ross production switcher. And so we're actually now able to control the Grass Valley Kayak and the Sony MVS 8000G with more types of switchers coming. That's a pretty big deal. Now, we're talking about Carbonite though. The most popular mid-size production switchers. They've never ever been able to be controlled by Overdrive, and one of the reasons is you need at least a 2.5 ME switcher to do it. Well, at NAB we launched Carbonite as a 2.5 ME software upgrade. We gave people a 0.5 ME for free. And what did that make possible? Overdrive Caprica and Carbonite. So we're now able to put together the world's leading automated productions system. There's more automated productions going on worldwide with Overdrive than any other competing system, and the #1 mid-size production switcher on the planet. So existing Carbonite users can now actually add on Overdrive to further cost reduce the cost of their productions going forward. It is fantastically great in the return on investment side of things. So there's a lot of excitement about that, and it's going to bring automated production into even more places where they couldn't afford to do it before, because previously they had to use a vision or an acuity switcher, which we can still do, But for the smaller productions, we can now bring Overdrive to more people. As you say, breaks the APC price barrier. So trust me, we're quoting a bunch of these right now on the show floor. It's very exciting. So now we can actually, with Overdrive, control anything. Third-party switchers, large raw switchers, and mid-size raw switchers. Also, let's talk about expression. We do graphics, well, like virtual sets and augmented reality, but what's new in expression? One of the things we were missing was maps. So we're launching at the show, this is kind of exciting for us, expression maps. So we're able to do maps from Bing and do customized colors and multi-point flights and animated routes and flight paths. So you can do all the sorts of things and basically that you need to do in news and entertainment shows with maps. So that's kind of a big deal. Other thing though that we've done, this is really new. Okay, everybody here, does anybody have a geek hat that they can put on, thinking about, the programming? Anybody? Right? Yeah, okay. So nobody here was a software developer? No one? Nobody can write code? Well, that's a real problem, actually, because a lot of the sophisticated things you want to be able to do when you run expression, you needed to write some code in the background to make it programmed to do these things. In fact, every CG in the world is that way. To be an operator at the highest level, you also had to be a programmer. Hence, we're launching something called Visual Logic. So it's really easy now. It's basically dragging and dropping some boxes around saying, hey, when this data hits 0, I want this to slide off to the right. You just connect one thing to another thing, and it just makes it happen. No programming required. So even the press could probably run this. So this is a pretty big deal. So we're excited about that as well. Other things that we've been launching is Expression Telestrate. So this is an ability to, draw on the screen, which is kind of fun to do. And it kind of required for a lot of sports programming and other types of things where you need to be able to write on the screen. So we're launching that at the show. And also the something called Expression Touch Factory, which is those where you have a touch screen and you can make Expression do all sorts of cool things on air. So we're launching those 2 new things for Expression as well. Nothing is slowing down. But there's more. Expression Technology Demo. This is something that is pretty cool. We are launching Expression 4K Quad Link 3G fill and key. So this is Expression in a single box doing a key infill, full raster 4K production. Just to understand how hard that is the equivalent of 16 1080i outputs from a single engine. That's like 16 expressions stacked one on top of each other, except we're actually just doing it in one box in 4K. I know, you're really impressed, and you should be. All right, next. Inception News. Did you guys know that we're into the newsroom business? I think we just launched that at IBC last year. So we didn't give up. We decided to just keep going. And so we've got the next generation newsroom system, basically, is what we're calling it. And what's special about Inception News, just to review, is that it's built from the ground up as a multi-platform content creation solution. So basically that means that doing the news isn't just about doing a linear news show anymore. It's all about Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all sorts of different feeds that you want to coordinate during your live production, before your live production, and coincident with particular stories. And of course, to be able to be modern, wouldn't you like it to be entirely browser-based? Log in from your hotel room or wherever you are, anywhere in the world. That's what this does as well. Of course, it's MOS native and so forth. How are we doing with that? Well, in less than a year, we've done 34 systems. That's not bad. In our year 1, just as this is ramping up, we got 34 TV stations essentially running Inception News. And I guess we have breaking news there. Inception is just purchased by Star TV in Tanzania.
35 now.
35 now. Okay, yeah, it's one of those things that's ticking. I expect to come back and see probably about triple that number. So hold me to it. See what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. New at IBC as well for Inception News. A whole bunch of stuff. I mean, data redundancy. We put an integrated prompter into it. We've added context database and wires engines and federated searches and easy prompt standalone prompter software and a whole bunch of new user enhancements. in version 8.1. Let's think about that for a second. We launched version 1 at IBC last year, and we're on version 8 now. It's moving that fast. They're on about a 6 to 8 week wheel where they're actually just dumping features, and testing them, getting them out, designing more, testing them, getting out every 8 weeks. So we worked our way all the way up to version 8 inside of the year. So it's now one of the top 5 newsroom vendors in the world, and we're just getting started. That's interesting. But wait, there's more. One more thing. It's kind of cool. So what we'd like to be able to do, this is one of our new product introductions. It's called Streamline. What is it? Well, it fits under one RU server, so it's probably not a production switcher. Streamline is a graphics media asset management system, so a GMAN for expression, for starts. So that's one of the things. Actually, when we see the survey results and the planning and what people are planning on buying and they're worrying about and things like that out there in the field, usually it's something to do with media asset management. It's way up there on the list and how we're going to pull all this stuff together. We've got multi-sites, we've got too much stuff, and we need to keep track of it all. So that's what we've moved into. This is the new big. We actually, to be honest, I'll tell you a little story. We looked at buying 3 companies because you were always wondering whether or not we were buying a company at our press releases. So we bought 9 in the last 5 years. There would have been a number 10. We went through 3 different companies, we were in a room with whiteboards and coming out with all the different sort of, what do you want for this company and everything else, and a lot of them went, we go, you want that much money for that? And we'd shuffle them out of the room and we'd go on. So we finally decided, okay, let's not buy a company, let's do it ourselves. So instead of buying a company, we created the equivalent of a company inside of Ross. So asset management, to be able to go through your assets. And the other thing that it does, it's when you're in a news situation and you need a graphic and it's not there, you want to be able to order it. Maybe it's in-house, maybe it's part of a station group, maybe it's around the world. Their graphic artists create the graphic, send it back, close the order and everything else. That's part of the system as well. So not bad for a start. And of course, you can track how your orders are doing and whether or not you're going to get your graphic in time for your news show or whatever else you're trying to do. So that's all built in. And we figured that some of our customers are really, really big on data. They want to know things like which TV station is ordering the most type of graphics, who ordered the most this week, who ordered the most types of something, who ordered the most animations, who ordered the most stills and things like that. So we have a monster data reporting package in that as well. All in version 1. So we're pretty excited about this. Graphics, media asset management for expression. And stay tuned and watch where Streamline goes from that, because Ross is in the MAM business now, which is a long way from the little production switcher company from a few years ago. It seems like we're not afraid of anything. And my chief marketing officer got this slide the other day, or just this morning, and he liked it so much. He says, I want to put another one in here because it's just so pretty. And so even though what I try to tell you is that Ross is definitely not just a production switcher company anymore, and we have such a broad range, we come back and say, we still do love production switchers, and I think also have a love for industrial design. But just to prove the last point, we make a lot of stuff now, and we do a lot of things. We do robotics, we do switchers, we do graphics and virtual sets and augmented reality, we do, well, the whole open gear line, which we didn't even have time today to talk about, as well as servers and our control systems, such as our overdrive system and the dashboard free control system as well that's out there, and of course our routers and our reception newsroom system, and of course our open truck and now Streamline graphics media asset management.